Hey everyone, welcome to Debate Decoder. Here we take political commentary from the left and the right and fact check the arguments for logical fallacies, exaggerations, and misleading rhetoric. Today we're looking at a series of clips from the Kirk show with guest Michael Knowles discussing a recent tragedy in Minneapolis.
Michael Knowles with us. Michael, it is a very disturbing day here as we learn of what has happened in Minneapolis. People are saying it's confirmed, and I think that's right, of the Catholic school shooter is transgender, which does matter, by the way.
This is a textbook example of a hasty generalization, which is one of the major types of fallacies. So one person's identity doesn't automatically mean an entire group is implicated. So by tying the tragedy, which is of course terrible, to the shooter's transgender status, Charlie Kirk is setting up a misleading connection to broader policy debates. And this is, of course, without evidence.
Now you're seeing this start to come out, possible identity of the shooter, possible video of the shooter, possible manifesto of the shooter. I watched what is purportedly the video released by the shooter, and the first reaction is it seems so clearly demonic. The kind of language that's being used, the way that it's being spoken. I'm not one of these people who sees demons hiding under every rocks. But if you acknowledge that there's evil in the world, then you have to acknowledge there is a personality to evil, and there's more in heaven and earth than is dreamt up in our philosophies. So, some of what has come out of this purported video is a little firing line, like a target with Christ's head on the top of it. Some of it is blasphemous, terrible language. And then, of course, the targeting of a church or a school, not only a school, but a school with mass, not only mass, but a mass full of little kids. If this is not demonic, I don't know what is.
Okay, this is pretty self-explanatory. Obviously, it is an appeal to fear. That is actually a type of fallacy. Instead of exploring real world causes like mental health or quite plainly access to weapons, the tragedy, and Michael Knowles is framing the tragedy as a supernatural attack. That makes the issue undebatable because you can't argue with demons.
Intentionally targeted kids at mass. He intentionally targeted young kids that were Catholic and Christian. Michael, I mean, this is an attack on Christianity. The media likely will just kind of glaze over that and make it all about guns. What is your take on this deliberate, yet another Christian hate crime? And I don't like using that word. We are in the midst of a spiritual war.
What are you talking about here? Really? Well, I'll tell you, because this actual clip is a clear demonstration of a false dichotomy. And either it's persecution of Christians or it's just about guns. But in reality, tragedies like this are complex. They can involve religious targeting, but also obviously gun laws and lax gun laws like we have in this country. Mental health, which the right likes to parade out in cases like this, and so many more. So simplifying to only two options is entirely misleading. But let's continue on with the next clip.
Both statements are absolutely vomit-inducing. These people, if they weren't so profoundly ignorant, would merit even more of our anger. But let's just follow their ideas to their conclusion. What they're saying is, don't pray. Prayer is stupid. Let's make fun of these dead Christian kids and their families for praying. What idiots they are. They shouldn't pray. What's the alternative? Well, the alternative, I think, quite clearly, is that we just need to elect progressive politicians and enact progressive policies, because that's going to lead to progressive action to solve all of these problems and to prevent mass shootings. He's a Democrat mayor. They're in a Democrat state. There's a Democrat governor. They're full of Democrat legislators. They have all of that. How come?
All right. So this is a straw man fallacy. And the mayor actually said, don't just pray, a call for action in addition to prayer. He's not saying don't pray. But the argument gets twisted into liberals are mocking the dead. You know, let's make fun of these dead Christian kids, which is not what he's saying. So that exaggeration makes it easier to attack, but it's not what was said, clearly.
There was this time in the 2000s when, because of a publishing phenomenon, everyone thought that the atheists were the smart people and the religious people were the dumb people. Never mind that statistically, every single intelligent person who's ever lived has believed in God. Never mind that, some random journalist is not actually smarter than Thomas Aquinas, for instance. That's just what it felt like at the time. And the atheism ran its course. And now it's over. And it's over because people got really depressed. As all of this secularism and atheism was advancing, what did you also see? You saw declining happiness for both men and women, especially for women. You saw the skyrocketing rates of antidepressant drugs, also mostly for women, but for men as well. You saw increased depression, including among teenagers. You saw family breakdown. You saw all manner of social disorder. And you said, if this is progress, show me regress. If this is enlightenment, give me some darkness. I don't know, because this isn't real. And so people finally faced with the eternal questions again, are saying, all right, well, what have other people thought about this? And I think now we're seeing all the smart people are returning to religion because of at least one basic fact, which is we can know that God exists. And smart people going all the way back to Aristotle and Plato have known for a fact that God exists. And God has a character and God reveals himself to us. And if you're curious at all, and if you're humble at all, you got to learn more.
Okay. This has the, I don't know, distinction of having this one segment having two major fallacies. So both overgeneralization and a misused appeal to authority. So saying that every single intelligent person who's ever lived has believed in God, I mean, just look at notable figures like Bertrand Russell or Richard Feynman. There are so many examples of intelligent people who have been agnostic or atheistic. Citing Aristotle or Plato as proof of modern Christian theology stretches their philosophy far beyond its context. And if you look at Christian theology specifically, I mean, there are churches that, obviously have different focuses when it comes to deity. So it's overgeneralization when it comes to belief in God and also the misused appeal to authority. All right. So in this single 14-minute conversation between Charlie Kirk and Michael Knowles, we spotted at least 6 major fallacies: hasty generalizations, appeals to fear, straw man arguments, false dichotomies, overgeneralizations, and misused appeals to authority. And, these rhetorical moves make debates look persuasive on the surface, although they were, generally agreeing with one another. They weren't really debating the topic, but they crumble once you know how to spot them. So I hope that you guys will learn to understand and learn how to recognize these fallacies so that you can use your brains and make up your own mind about what kind of information is being fed to you. If you found this breakdown helpful, subscribing is a great way to find your way back here. And remember, the more we can recognize fallacies, the better we can cut through the noise, whether it comes from the left or the right.